Today I will be telling you the story of Puteri Bunga Tanjung from Malaysia. Come join me. Hi, my name is Heidi. I'm a Malaysian author and collector of folk and fairy tales from the Nusantara. Welcome back. It's been a while. I apologize, but I'm here again today and I'm very excited to tell you the story of Puteri Bunga Tanjung. Now, for the last two episodes, we've been revisiting a familiar trope in Nusantara folk and fairy tales, and that is where a celestial maiden or a Kayangan princess from the land above decides to come down to earth to bathe in a body of water. And here she is discovered by a human man. And usually, up to this point, it's always a man that discovers her. And he decides that he's in love with her and he wants to keep her here on earth. And he does that by stealing her, either her magical clothes or, as in the Korean tale I told you in the last episode, her magical undergarments. So these magical clothes represent the celestial woman's power. And when this power is taken away from her, she becomes weak and vulnerable. She's no longer able to escape, to fly home. And unfortunately, she has to rely on the human man simply to survive. If you missed those stories, you can revisit them in episodes 41 and 42, which I've linked down below. These are audio episodes, so you can just put them on and carry on with your everyday daily activities. There's no need for you to look at my face while you watch the video, which I think is a good thing. For a more in-depth analysis of the theme, check out one of the very first episodes of this channel. In fact, I think it was the first proper episode, episode 2, where I talk about the youngest fairy princess of Kayangan. So this week I will be telling you a similar tale, but with a very different outcome and a very different feel to it. This is the story of Puteri Bunga Tanjung. In Malay, Puteri means princess, and just so you know, Putra means prince. And Bunga Tanjung is the flower from the Mimosops elengi tree or the bullet wood tree. Sometimes it's known as the Spanish cherry tree, and it's a common tree found all over Southeast Asia. I know I'm going on a bit about this tree, but you'll see that it becomes relevant at the end of this tale. So at this point, I would invite you to sit back and relax. It's story time. Grab something nice to drink while I tell you the story of Puteri Bunga Tanjung. So this story comes from my book, Nusantara, A Sea of Tales. I'm not going to actually read out the story from the book. I'd rather just tell you the story, but I'll have it here just as a reference. Once upon a beautiful moonlit night, a fairy princess from the land of Kayangan decided to visit Earth, to visit her favorite lake for a little moonlight dip. She arrived at her lake, undressed, and placed her clothes at the foot of a tree. And then she enjoyed a nice swim in the lake. When she was finished, she stepped out of the lake, and to her surprise, she found that her garments were gone. She was very upset because without her garments, she would not be able to fly home to Kayangan. The girl fell down at the foot of the tree and began to sob. The sound of her crying attracted the attention of an old woman who lived in a hut nearby. "My dear, whatever is the matter? Why are you crying?" The girl explained that she had lost her clothes, and without her clothes she could not return home. "Oh, do not cry about things like that. Do not worry. You can come stay with me in my hut. It's small, the roof leaks, there's cockroaches and rats, but it's comfortable and you'll be safe." The girl was very grateful to the old woman and followed her home. The next morning, the old woman walked out of her hut to look for some firewood. She walked towards the tree where she had found the girl the previous night and was suddenly surrounded by this sweet fragrance. She looked down at her feet and she saw thousands and thousands of beautiful yellow flowers spread out under the tree like a huge carpet. Looking up at the branches of the tree, she saw that the flowers came from the tree, and she said, "How odd, this tree has never flowered before." She bent down and picked the beautiful flower up and thought, oh, I can sell this beautiful flower at the market and we will make lots of money. So she called out to the girl and she asked the girl to gather up all the flowers. And together they made their way to the market where the old woman sold all the flowers. She was very happy because by the end of the day, she had a purse full of coins. She jiggled her purse and smiled at the girl, but the girl was still feeling sad. That night, the girl went out to the tree once more to look for her clothes, but it was nowhere to be seen. Oh no, what will I do? She sat under the tree and cried once more. The next day, the old woman came out of her hut and to her surprise saw that the tree had produced even more flowers. Once again, the old woman and the girl gathered up the flowers. They brought the flowers to the market, and by the end of the day, the woman had filled 2 of her purses with coins. So she was very, very happy, but the girl looked as morose as ever. That night, the girl came to the tree once more to look for her flying garment. She was not expecting anything and had resigned herself to another night of tears. But when she arrived at the tree, she found a bundle on the ground. The girl went back home to tell the old woman what had happened, that she had found her garments and she was ready to go home. The old woman, of course, was sad to see her leave, but she was happy for the girl. Tell me, my child, what is the name of this flower? She asked. This flower is called Bunga Tanjung. It is the symbol of my home, Kayangan. My father must have seen the flowers and sent my magical garments down to me. How lovely. I think I will call you Puteri Bunga Tanjung, said the old woman. The girl kissed the old lady's hands and said to her, to thank you, I will come back every season and make this tree bear these beautiful flowers just for you. The old lady was overjoyed, and true to her word, the fairy princess returned every season to shed her tears in order to make the beautiful flowers grow. And that is the end of the tale of Puteri Bunga Tanjung. So, as I mentioned before, this story is very similar to the other Celestial Maiden stories, but at the same time is very, very different. In this version of the story, the maiden has been rescued in the true sense of the word, and her savior is a nurturing, lovely old woman who has no other motive but to make sure that the girl is safe and to care for her. And as the story unfolds, we feel that, everything will be all right in the end because mother is there and she will take care of us, and that is always a lovely feeling. Protective mother figure will help us achieve our goals and keep us safe from harm, and she will do this without expecting anything in return. You can just imagine what would have happened if instead of the old woman, a young or even old man, any man really, were to have discovered the heavenly maiden. As we have seen from all the stories of this type, the man would have fallen in love like instantly. It's always instantly in fairy tales, isn't it? He would have come up with some kind of evil plan to keep the maiden on earth by stealing her magical garments, and all this would have involved lies and deception, which really isn't a great basis for forming any kind of relationship. So to me, this fairy tale is about the importance of looking out for each other, for helping others without expecting any kind of reward or remuneration. In this tale, the old woman does in fact get a reward in the form of the valuable flowers which fall from the tree after the maiden has cried her eyes out. After crying and causing the flowers to blossom and fall from the tree in my version, it's 2 nights, but in other versions it's 3 nights. The king of Kayangan can finally locate his daughter and sends down her magical garment so that she can return home. So as I mentioned before, Kayangan is kind of Nusantara fairy tale land where, again, as a reward and to thank the old woman, the heavenly maiden promises to return every season to make the flowers bloom again, which I think is a lovely end to this story. It gives us a nice warm feeling inside. So I wanted to talk about the tree, the Tanjung tree. Earlier I mentioned that this tree plays quite an important role in not just this fairy tale but other folk tales in the region. So the Tanjung tree, or the bulletwood tree, turns out to be a rather special and useful tree. The bark, flower, seeds, and fruit of the tree is commonly used for Ayurvedic medicines, and the flowers can be dried and made into tea. The fruits are edible, and the wood is extremely strong and hard. This tree has actually already made an appearance in another folktale I told you from Thailand called Piku Tong. If you remember from the story of Pikultong, the good sister is rewarded by having valuable flowers fall from her lips every time she speaks. And those flowers are none other than the flowers of the Tanjung tree. You can listen to the story of Pikultong in episode 37. I'll link that down below as well. So as I mentioned before, this story is taken from my book, Nusantara, A Sea of Tales. It's published by Penguin. It came out last year. It's available online on Amazon, and in Malaysia it's available in Kinokuniya. So what did you think of that story? I would love to hear your thoughts. Please do leave your comments below. If you like this video and my other videos, please do like and subscribe to this channel. You'll make this channel more accessible and available to others. And I shall see you in the next episode.